Welcome back. If you don't like dealing with computers, it will be a problem to learn bioinformatics, but I hope you don't have such issues and everything will be just fine. Well, even if you have, you can always learn to appreciate computers. In this section alone, we will look into databases and its file formats. I have prepared some extra video tutorials on how to explore and browse several nucleotide and protein databases. Also, there will be a tutorial on how to build your own basic database using Microsoft Access. Isn't it great? Let's begin. So, think about one particular folder in your laptop or personal computer or smartphone or tablet. What do you store in the folder? How do you organize them in the folder? Are there any subfolders within this folder? Does each of the items in this folder properly labeled? That folder, my friend, is the simplest example of a database. In fact, we are accessing our databases almost all the time. A database is a collection of information. It is a place where you put some pictures, files, installers, and a list of other things. A database can be structured or unstructured. A structured database is defined as a well-defined framework that connects all information stored in a system. Unstructured is the opposite definition of a structured database. Since the technology to develop a database right now is already very sophisticated, regardless of the type of framework a database is in, most databases allow interactions between the users like us and the database through a graphical user interface. Try finding something on Google.com. Google.com web portal is the graphical user interface that connects you to the World Wide Web of the database. So why do you need to keep your features in a special folder? Well, your answer could be a similar answer to why we need to have a database. Scientists are a group of people that generate research results on a regular basis. The growth of raw data and analysis information is explosive. In order to be more organized so that better efficient way of research works can be performed, employing a database to store these data will be very helpful. A database is an essential integral part of scientific research. Data is not information. A data is normally raw and unprocessed. It contains messy details about the domain. These are the characteristics of raw data. Bioinformatics analysis aims to convert raw data into something very informative and meaningful. After all, there are more values to information than raw data itself. To be able to make novel discovery, good information is needed. To make sense of raw data is a process to convert it to informative details. No junk, no redundancies, properly labeled, and etc. Once we have the processed data, which is now known as information, we will proceed with storing it in the database and connect every information accordingly. In general, in order to convert raw data into information, there should be some process involved in between. These processes involve removing of unwanted content, assigning proper labels and identifiers, and so on. These processes will then transform raw data into readable information, content that are useful for the scientists and users and people like yourself. Information must be easily understood and direct as to provide clear insight and knowledge to their readers. Let's take a closer look at how information is being created using databases in the next slide. Let's take a look at this particular slide. Although you don't really need to know much about database structure, it could be good if you learn some basic data structures, as you can see, there are two tables on the slide, table 1 and table 2. A good structured database contains several number of tables. Each table contains specific information tabulated in rows and columns. For example, table 1, known as parent table, contains gene name and gene ID. You have 4 genes here, and each has its own ID number. Meanwhile, table 2, which is known as a child table, has gene ID, sequence ID, and gene sequence. Both gene ID and sequence ID in table 2 are what are called database keys. Gene ID is known as to be the primary key or foreign key, which is also appears in table 1, while sequence ID is the secondary key, which only appears in table 2. A database is a collection of connected tables. This means table 1 is connected to table 2, and this is what we call a relational table. By making a relation between these two tables, scientists will be able to see the relationship between two information. For example, gene A with gene ID 001 has two isoforms, which IDs are sequence 1 and sequence 2. A database helps scientists and people like yourself to extract most valuable insight that may help to advance your scientific research. For example, gene A has two isoforms. One of the isoforms also belongs to gene C. Interestingly, sequence ID number 2 isoform can be found in gene B. Therefore, gene A and gene B and gene C might be evolutionarily related. In a real case scenario, this is how a structured database looks like. It has several relationship tables that connects all information. In this course, you will learn about several bioinformatic databases, not so much on their structure, but on how to use and query information from them. Some databases that we will look into are Protein Data Bank, Gene Bank, UniProt, and so on. There are many guidelines on how to choose which of the database is good or not. It is always depending on what you want and your research objectives. Nevertheless, there are characteristics of a database that tell you what a good database looks like and should be. Overall, a database should be comprehensive but not too complicated. It must allow easy search while the search results are easy to understand. Users should be able to find extra reference to other sections of the database or to other different databases. There are other good characteristics that determine what a good database should be. You may find out from other sources hereafter. In this topic, we have learned about the concepts of database and its file format, information flow from raw data to information to biological knowledge, how database helps researchers to gain biological insights, characteristics of a good database. Thank you very much, and we'll move on to the next topic. Thanks, bye.